Alright fellas, with the Canelo Munguia fight just around the corner, I know a lot of fight fans who haven't followed Munguia's career and are not that informed on what he's actually bringing to the table. I know a lot of you are looking at his record and being like, damn, that's some Mayweather territory numbers. Yet for many, and especially the casual fan, he's slipped under the radar for the last few years. So today, I want to look at some of his key bouts and his style to come up with a better idea of just how good Jaime Munguia is and what he's truly bringing to the table. Well, Jaime Munguia is a 27-year-old boxer with a current record of 43-0, with a 79% knockout rate, standing at 6 foot with a 72-inch reach. Now, Munguia has been a formidable force through the light middleweight, middleweight, and now super middleweight divisions. His style is known mainly for its aggressive Mexican forward-moving offense. He's the type of fighter who puts on relentless pressure, closing that distance and attempting to overwhelm opponents. He's an expert at high-volume punching, especially targeting the body. One of the cornerstones of this style succeeding is his power. With a significant knockout ratio, it's clear Munguia throws punches with bad intentions. His ability to deliver these knockout punches have gotten him his biggest wins and saved him in his troubled times. His aggressive style has been criticised for its flaws, and its flaws is one of the reasons that Canelo has been receiving so much backlash for taking this fight. His forward pressure tends to leave him open for counters. His eagerness to engage shows his defensive flaws and leaves him open, with sharpshooters like Canelo having the potential to exploit such openings. Additionally, because of this high output rate of punches, it can occasionally lead to fatigue for him later in the rounds. This can be critically bad for a fighter who generally has defensive issues, with fatigue only going to exaggerate these problems. Now, with a bit of an understanding on what sort of fighter he is, I want to look over his resume to see what sort of experience he's had. Munguia has had a long amateur background, with over 130 fights. He never went to the Olympics, yet he did win some national titles in Mexico. Munguia turned professional at the incredibly young age of 16. Now, not gonna lie from the jump, Munguia's 43-0 isn't like a Mayweather record. Munguia had a 25-0 record before setting foot in the United States to even fight. Yeah, I'm not saying that all of these fighters he versed are cab driver level, but it's just for a bit of reference. But his record against Mexicans, although, put him in the spot to fill in for a bout against Saddam Ali, with Ali's original opponent, Liam Smith, withdrawing because of illness. Munguia at the time was an incredibly obscure name for the US audience, and this was an opportunity for a breakout victory. This fight also had Ali's WBO junior middleweight title on the line. In the fight, Munguia's size and power were just too much for Ali, who was a naturally smaller fighter and had just come up from welterweight. Munguia would go on to knock Ali down 4 times, with the ref stopping the fight after the 4th knockdown in the 4th round. This catapulted Munguia and earned him a world title, a career-defining victory, one of his best, and making him a name to watch. This lined up a bout against Ali's original opponent, Liam Smith. Once again, Munguia would control much of the fight with his aggressive style and power, yet Smith managed to test Munguia's endurance and defensive skills by going all the rounds. Yet Munguia would win by unanimous decision. This victory was important as it solidified him as a legit champion and showcased his potential to be a star. The next fight I want to point out was his Golden Boy debut against Takeshi Inoue. Now, don't get confused with Naoya, this is another Japanese fighter who is a tough, solid opponent. Inoue was known for his straightforward fighting style and durability, and he absolutely showed this. Inoue proved to be a tough opponent, absorbing a lot of punishment. He tried to pressure and counter Munguia, yet the power and size of him was too much to counter effectively, with Munguia winning a clear unanimous decision. Just to note that after this fight, Inoue would end up versing Tim Tszyu with another testament to his durability, lasting the 10 rounds with Tim. Following the Inoue fight, he would verse a boxer well known to me as an Australian boxing fan, but probably not internationally, in Dennis Hogan. Now, Hogan was a solid local competitor, and most people wrote him off for this fight. However, he surprised everyone, being a significant challenge to Munguia. Hogan's use of fantastic movement to frustrate Munguia, with Munguia struggling to get the better of him. Through the fight, Hogan countered his attacks and landed several punches of his own. Not just as a fellow Australian, but most people believed Hogan did enough to outbox Munguia, and he deserved to win. Yet Munguia would end up edging out a split decision, which many were left questioning. There were a lot of negative reactions to this decision, and there were calls for a rematch, but that obviously never happened. Now, around this time, I would say Golden Boy's promotion of him switched up a bit. They kind of stopped building him up as a prospect of his own, and after a few average matches, they started positioning him for a big money grab. They either wanted Canelo or Triple G. With Canelo going strength to strength, Triple G seemed more realistic, and they would try hard to get this fight through this period. But this bout against Triple G would never materialise. Following the Hogan match, he would verse a lot of tough opponents, but I would say they're not amongst the elite. Some of the notable bouts include his bout against Gary O'Sullivan, where he would move up to middleweight, putting Gary down in the 11th, or Torino Johnson, which was a decently hard fight until Johnson had to retire after a severe cut on his lip during the 6th round. While additionally, bouts against Gabriel Rosado and Demetrius Ballard showed his talents against solid, just under world-class level opponents. Yet I would say, aside from the Ali fight, the last 2 fights were some of his most significant. The first one comes against Sergiy. Now Sergiy, at the age of 37 and a record of 14-4, you could say they're trying to set Munguia up with another can, but that's definitely not the case. Sergiy's losses came against fighters such as Triple G and Jamel Charlo, with the Triple G fight being incredibly close. The fight against Munguia was incredibly close also. A high action bout, but a shot to the body in the 12th saved Munguia on the scorecards. An incredibly close fight, which on paper really shouldn't have been. This was seen as another debatable fight, alike to the Hogan fight, and further went to put questions on Munguia's name if he can really challenge within the elite, with his defensive display through this fight being incredibly poor. Yet his next fight would set him up to be in the position that he currently is in today. This would be his bout against John Ryder. Ryder was Canelo's last opponent. Although he lost, he gave absolutely everything he could in a solid challenge against Canelo, with him being unable to get Ryder out of there, and Canelo winning by unanimous decision. In Munguia's bout against him, he put on a really good display, putting down Ryder in rounds 2, 4 and twice in the 9th, eventually winning the fight by TKO in the 9th. This was seen as a statement win for Munguia, a real step up for him, an absolute firefight for the crowd, with it being a good enough performance to line him up with Canelo. Now, with the fight fast approaching, do I think Munguia stands a chance at all? Not really. I would love to see a real firefight between them, and I think Canelo will feast on the counter, and Munguia's lack of technical defense. I reckon Canelo will be incredibly successful with the uppercut, and will take him out in the mid to late rounds. Although people argue that Canelo may struggle with Munguia's size a little bit because he's a bit of a weight bully. That's probably the best thing he brings, in all honesty. Yet all the promoters love to point out how one punch could change the match entirely. Yet I think regardless, it will be a fun, competitive fight for the fans. But it's no Benavidez fight though. But just quickly, if you've never heard of me, my name is Cloister and I make boxing and fight related content. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you consider subscribing or liking, that would be massively appreciated. Anyways, I really want to hear your thoughts on how the Munguia-Canelo fight will play out. But thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.